Good evening, everybody. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Boom Gonzalez.
We give you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Doreen Bagyo. Watch the game live in our past episodes on demand on the Pilipinas Live app for just 99 pesos a month, available for download on Google Play or the App Store.
So, buckle up, sports fans, and let's get in the game. First of all, hello, Doreen. It's good to see you again.
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
Gilas Pilipinas has two more chances to get their first win at the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup. But before we move on to that and talk about that, let's take a look at the impressive performance of the squad despite the unfavorable outcome. And here to break all of it down, is our friend, basketball analyst, Coach Norman Black. Been a while, Coach, for you and me. I'm happy to see you again.
Doreen, how are you?
I always see you, Coach, in the game. So nice to see you again, Coach.
Okay, Coach, let's get into it. Prior to the game yesterday, most of what Coach Chot and what the players were saying was what they wanted to do was kind of sustain the effort for the full game, because that's what they thought was the problem in the Dominican Republic game, among many others, of course, foul trouble and all that. Angola also, they weren't able to do it last night against a number 10 team in the world in Italy. What was your overall assessment of the game and the three games so far?
Well, nobody really wants to hear it, but I thought we were very competitive again.
Yeah.
We proved that we can compete with some of the best teams in the world, and of course we came up on the wrong end of it, so a lot of people are disappointed, upset, negative, but at the same time, you have to look at the positive side, which is this is an ongoing process. It's not just for this tournament, but we have to lead into other tournaments also. So we have to continue to develop our national team.
The starts, Doreen, you were there. The starts have been so good.
Yes.
Right? What breaks down? Or is it just, are we not giving enough credit also to the opponents here?
I think we should give some credit to the opponents, because when you look at Italy, they had not shot the ball that well in this tournament, and all of a sudden they started shooting like they normally do. That's correct, yeah, against the Philippine team. But at the same time, we were still right there. We still had a chance. We just couldn't. Whenever we would get it down to 8, 10 points, they would hit a three-pointer and separate again. And after a while, it became a little bit demoralizing for the team. But at the same time, we did have players that played well, and there were some bright moments.
Coach, talking about that, let's talk about Coach Chot's rotation. How hard is it to predict that a rotation will work for a certain game?
Well, hopefully Coach Chut's not listening to what everybody's saying, because a lot of people have their own ideas and their own opinions. But at the same time, he just has to go with his gut. Whatever he feels should be the rotation for that particular night, up against the competition he's going up against, is what he should use. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We've seen different lineups in this particular tournament so far. But the things that have been very consistent are Clarkson. He's been out there the majority of the time. Ramos has gotten a lot of playing time. Edu's gotten a lot of playing time. So there has been some consistency in our lineups. But at the same time, he has also tried to get other guys involved.
How tough a job is that? I mean, obviously the answer is yes, but just for the audience watching, and when you take into consideration the fact that a lot of the other international teams probably shave their actual lineup to around 8 or 9 during the FIBA Basketball World Cup, but in our case we have a bunch of all-stars, if you may. It's a tough job to juggle and find the combination, isn't it, Coach?
Well, it becomes a lot easier if you can find the combination. In other words, you don't have to play 12 people. If you can get 8 or 9, they can really rotate for you. Because it's more, I guess, comfortable for a coach not to use too many players, because if you can get a good rotation, you just want to stick with that rotation. But in this case, we've had some guys who have played well, some guys who haven't played so well. So Chuck's been trying everybody. He's been trying to give everybody a chance.
Coach, how about the young guys of the team? The likes of AJ, Edu, and the younger guys of the team. What are your thoughts on the future of Gilas on the hands of these guys?
Well, speaking of Edu, I mean, he's been exceptional. The job he did on Towns, even though Towns still scored a lot of points when we played the Dominican Republic, was just remarkable. And I think he has a really bright future ahead of him.
Sure.
As far as the other young guys go, it's just going to take time, experience. If I could just rewind a little bit and make my own comments,
Please
it would be the fact that maybe our preparation could have been a little bit better, not in the sense of what we did, because we did a lot leading into this tournament.
Length of time?
Maybe we could have gotten Kai in a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
We could have gotten Clarkson in a little bit earlier, developed that chemistry a little bit more, had them play in more exhibition games, because neither one of those guys played very many exhibition games before this tournament started.
So when you talk about the chemistry part of it, this, in your opinion, was a matter of time.
Well, when you have 30 days to prepare for something, every day counts. Every game counts. Every practice counts. You can't say it doesn't. Even when Clarkson set out the last practice game against Mexico, I believe he probably could have used that game just to get more adjusted with his teammates, because once you get into the tournament, there's very little time to adjust. I mean, the other teams are not just good, but everything's coming at you rapidly, so you have to adjust rapidly. So if you have enough time to prepare, it will help you a little bit more.
Coach, besides that chemistry issue, what else do you think can we take away from Gilas' journey in the FIBA World Cup that we can take on the next one?
Well, if you just take a look at the statistics alone, one of the things we have to really focus in on in the future is the fact that, exactly what I said earlier, Italy broke through from the perimeter. They made their three-point shots. We've struggled pretty much this entire tournament from the perimeter, particularly Clarkson. Clarkson has not shot the ball well from the perimeter. He has been productive, there's no question about that. He's one of the leading scorers in this tournament, but at the same time, outside shooting is a must in today's game. So we have to really try to get in guys that probably can hit those outside shots for us.
Last night here on the show, I was saying that hopefully last night was the night we let it fly and the night they all go in. Unfortunately, it still didn't happen. We have to pick out some of the guys that really did well, other than, you already mentioned AJ Edu. Yeah. We already know Jordan Clarkson will lead the team. He offers averaging almost 25 points a game. Who are the other standouts that you saw in the 3 games so far?
Well, Ramos has been very consistent
Ramos,
for us. And also popular with the girls, I guess. All you hear is screams every time they show him on the...
Really? I didn't notice. Go.
Yeah. But he's done a good job. Bando's done a good job also. He's been very productive for us.
Off the bench, Renz has been kind
That's
of like
correct. Renz has done well. And, you know, he doesn't really, he's not that big of a guy, but he plays bigger than his size.
Look at that block last night.
He's very athletic at the same time. Kiefer Ravenna has played well in this tournament.
Right.
Kind of keep the naysayers a little bit quiet, because he has done well in this tournament. He has contributed to the team. So what we need is for maybe Kai to step up a little bit. We got to get a little bit more from him. Jumar had a couple of games where he also played very, very well. So some guys have actually contributed very well in the tournament.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your thoughts. Indeed, it was a well-fought game for Gilas Pilipinas. Of course, not the results we wanted, but they gave us a fighting chance for that win. Anyway, after the break, we will find out what lies ahead for Gilas Pilipinas in the classification round. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. Welcome back to The Game. Basketball action continues as Gilas Pilipinas has its sights set on winning their next games in the FIBA World Cup classification round. Still with us to discuss what we can expect from this round is Coach Norman Black. Coach,
Yes.
hello again. First, Coach, can you tell us how does the classification round work in the first place?
Well, we need to win to have any chance of making it to the Olympics, if there is still a chance. And more importantly, we just need to win. We don't want the same thing that happened the last time we played in the World Championships, which is we came in last place. So
2019.
yeah, we need to get
Correct.
at least 1 or 2 wins to feel good about ourselves moving forward.
Right.
Remember, we have a tournament coming up right after this one, so we want to feel good going into that tournament. So if we can get a win against whoever we play against in the next 2 games, it would be great for us.
All right, for those who don't know, while you watch these clips, top 2 teams from each group advanced to the second round already. So in our case, of course, it is Dominican Republic and Italy. The bottom 2 teams, which is us and Angola, play the classification matches for ranks 17 to 32. The World Cup will decide the Paris 2024 quotas. And we'll talk more about that a little later. Here's what I wanted to ask Coach Norman, and there's a human nature part of this. You're done with that group stage games, and there's so much build-up, there's so much hype, obviously, with these opponents. Now you go into a classification round. Mentally, you belong to a lower group, basically. That's what a lot of people are saying. How do you mentally snap out of that funk and keep up some sort of energy going into a classification round, knowing that we need to win?
Well, first, we weren't the favorites to win this tournament.
True.
So we should be trying to win a game.
Right.
If we can get 2 games, that's even better.
Right.
That should be our motivation. Just to win for the Filipino people. We're here in the Philippines. We're here in Metro Manila. A lot of people are coming out to support the game. So you just go out and play your best. You do your best. You get out there on the court, you kill yourself to get a win. That's all it's about. So you don't worry about the fact that you're playing in the classification now. I wish the fans would also just focus in on what's in front of us.
It's not
so that
over,
we can,
yeah.
Yeah, so we can get out there and try to do our best and win games. Stay positive as much as possible because the players need that.
Right, right. That's what I wanted to ask Doreen, because parang may human nature part yan di ba?
Yeah, but the classification games, Coach, where does that play in our pursuit of getting to the Olympics?
Well, I think we have to win both just to have a chance, but then, of course, we don't have our fate in our hands. A lot of it will depend on what the other teams
other
do, too.
variables, yeah.
So the most important thing is just go out and win 2 games and see what happens from there.
Okay, let's talk about, let's say, possible opponents. There's the South Sudan option. Not that it's up to us, but just in case, there's the China option, and there's, I believe, a Puerto Rico option. Can you break down for us, Coach, from your knowledge, how different these opponents are? Because they play basketball differently.
Well, it'll be interesting to play South Sudan because they have a 16-year-old who's being picked to be one of the top picks in the draft a few years from now. He's only 16, so I guess 3 more years he'll have to before he can go into the 2 more years before he can go into the draft, NBA draft. But he's supposed to be really spectacular. He's 7'2", so that's something that we're going to have to face maybe in the next few games. At the same time, we played Puerto Rico before, back in 2014, I believe. We played them pretty tough. We had a chance of winning the game, but we weren't able to win it. But at the same time, we have seen Puerto Rico in the past, and we were competitive with them. But I think the game everybody would look forward to would be us against China. If we could,
Is it only because it's a familiar opponent, or is it because there is this ongoing thinking that this is not the same China team that we have faced in the past? What do you think, Coach?
no, I think we're both Asian powerhouses.
That's all it is.
That's
Okay.
what it's all about. I mean, we've both done very well, and we've been very successful in tournaments here in Asia. So we get a chance to go up against China, and the fact that they're not that far away, they're only an hour away from us. So there's a little bit of a rivalry there.
Doreen, sorry, I just wanted to ask: is China the same team that that really was a powerhouse for a very long time? We don't seem to hear them being mentioned as one anymore. Lately.
It doesn't appear that they
Right,
are,
right.
But at the same time, it's still China. You know,
Okay.
they're going to bring a big team over here, and it's going to be difficult to beat them. So it just gives us challenges to look forward to. So this tournament is not over yet, and I encourage all the Filipino fans to continue to come out to support the team.
Coach, you mentioned that these are powerhouse teams. There is a very short turnaround time from the group stage to the classification round. What do you think are the key aspects that Gilas has to focus on in preparation for the classification round?
Well, we used to say, we put a circle around ourselves, at least most of the teams I've coached or played for, and everything else outside is noise. That's the way they would have to face it right now because, like I said, there's a lot of negative vibes out there right now, and you still have to try to go out and win games. So you just focus on what's in front of you. You focus on your teammates. You win for your teammates. We always have this thing in basketball where we say, run for your teammate.
Okay.
In other words, if you run hard, the defense will react to you, it opens it up for me. This is what they have to do for one another right now. They have to play for each other.
Technically, Coach, now that you've seen 3 games, and of course we don't want to second guess our coaching staff for Gilas Pilipinas, but what are the things that you think can be learned from when it comes to going into these classification games? I know rebounding is going to be a big thing because we have lost a lot of the rebounding battles, especially in the first 2 games. Is there any other department of the game that you think, okay, this is the chance to really work on it?
Well, I would like to see us move a little bit smoothly on offense.
Okay.
Sometimes I think our offense gets a little bit stagnant. At the same
Why
time,
do you think, Coach?
Well, you know, we run a lot of dribble drive,
Right.
and dribble drive is really based on your ability to beat your man off the dribble and get to the basket. But when you're playing against talent,
defenders.
good players, and who can stay in front of people, that becomes more difficult. And a lot of teams will just switch against us,
Right.
which makes it even more difficult. So
That's what they were doing last night.
we have to find a way to be able to beat that type of defense so
Okay.
we can offensively get out there and score. But more importantly, I just want to see us shoot the ball well.
Finally.
Yeah, because if you shoot the basketball well, the game becomes so much easier.
Coach, is there anyone you're looking forward to seeing more of in the classification
question.
round?
From the RP team,
Yeah.
you know, I really like the way Kiefer has played in this tournament. I know a lot of people have been hard on him, but he's played
A lot of
like
people
he's-
have been hard on
like
the
he
team
belongs.
anyway, so-
Yeah,
All
so
of
I'd like to see him maybe get a few more minutes.
A little more burn, yeah.
CJ's time has been up and down.
Right.
We know him to be a big-time scorer here in the Philippines, but he hasn't really had a chance to do that yet in this tournament. But more importantly, I think the number one thing I would like to see, and I think everybody in the Philippines, is put Kai out there on the court and let him play.
Yeah.
Let him play
See
more
what
with,
happens. Yeah.
Jordan. Jumar has done so well, obviously, in the tournament. Is it oversimplification to say, you know, he has to get a little more touches underneath? Is is that too much of a simplification?
Well, Jumar is a veteran. I don't think he needs anything special. We'll have to look at the matchups as we go forward. Like I
Sure.
said, you got a 7-2 coming up. I'm sure the Chinese have some big players also. Puerto Rico's probably not quite as big as some of the other teams, but Jumar is always being matched up with the big man from the other team. So if he has an advantage in the post, we should get the basketball to him.
The biggest takeaway from tonight, Noreen, of course, from Coach Sean Black, no matter what, we should get a win. That's
Yeah.
the important thing.
And run
Coach,
for your teammate.
yes, of course, run for your teammate. Coach, thank you very much for your thoughts.
Thank you.
We'll dissect more of the games as we go along here in the FIBA Basketball World Cup 2023. In the meantime, after the break, we'll find out some exciting insider stories from our hard-working FIBA insider here, Doreen Soy Baguio. Keep it here. You're watching the game. Welcome back. You're still watching the game as we're right in the middle of the historic FIBA Basketball World Cup 2023. It's time to hear, as I said earlier, some insider stories from my partner here tonight who's been all over the event since day number one. Let's begin with last night. The game between the Philippines and number 10, Italy. And you were at the Gateway Mall, if I'm not mistaken. We had a viewing party there. Paint us a picture, Doreen. What was happening and what was the atmosphere like?
Sobrang daming tao. I've had the honor of witnessing the game both inside the venue and outside the venue. And first time ko yun to host the watch party.
A viewing party?
Yeah.
Okay.
First time ko yun. So, ang daming tao. May upuan, may mga kaupo yung mga tao doon, pero may mga nakaupo din sa sahig. May mga nakatayo.
Saya.
At bawat score, bawat rebound, bawat block, talagang nag-erupt yung mga tao in cheer. So it's really heartwarming to see that. I've always known that Filipinos are basketball-loving people, but to see that love in action, it's different.
So what you're saying is basically, as you see scenes from that party last night, there's basically almost no difference of watching the games live. Of course, outside the fact that you're watching the game live, but in terms of the atmosphere and the spirit of the people who are watching, you're saying it's the same.
Yeah, for sure. Ganun pa din. They cheer so much, they celebrate each and every point. So, yeah, you can feel the camaraderie, togetherness of the people, even if they're outside the venue.
Does that mean the deflation at the end, ramdam mo rin dun sa venue?
For sure. We had to close the watch party after the game.
Of course.
And mabigat.
Yes.
Ramdam mo kahit wala ka sa loob ng venue.
Tough outcome for last night. But, you know, this is why we love sports, right? It's such a galvanizing feeling, and you're seeing some of that from last night. Okay, there were other experiences for you, not obviously just from the watch party, but also from the actual games. Now, let's talk. Oh, that New Zealand haka, of course. That's like a game in itself. It's a highlight in itself. Tell me about seeing that live.
Well, before, I've heard of the haka.
Correct.
But then seeing it live, right before their game versus the US, I think that was their first game in the World Cup, seeing a huge important part of the New Zealand culture in Philippine soil in a basketball event. It's magical, Room. There's nothing like it.
Nakakasindak ba? Nakakasindak ba to see it live?
Yeah, parang pati yung facial expression nila Pina-flash yung facial expression nila. Talagang wala. Look at that.
Against Americans pa, no? You can see the reaction.
Yeah, you can see also the respect in their faces while they're doing that.
Right. Okay, you did get to talk to one of the mainstays.
Yeah, Finn Delaney. I asked him about that. Tinanong ko siya, gagawin niyo ba ito? Of course, I said it in English. But he said that doing the haka, especially before huge games like this, is very significant to them because that is their way of celebrating, of bringing their roots, their culture, and the people that have come before them in the big stage.
All right. You also talked to another, their guard, Shea Ili, right? Spitfire point guard for New Zealand. I covered one of their games also. What did you find out from his story?
7 months ago, he had a concussion.
Really?
Pre-season of the NBL. And he only started playing again 2 weeks ago. And he said that the fear is there, the worry is there of getting another knock. But whenever he goes out there, especially in the stage of the FIBA World Cup, he tries to put it in the back of his mind. Because if he wants to be the strong defender that he knows the team needs, he can't be fearful doing that.
And especially in his position and international play where it gets really physical too. Shea Ili, of course, from New Zealand. We'll have to end with the Austin Reeves effect with the Filipino fans and what this FIBA event in general means to you, Doreen.
For me?
Yes, and tell me about the Austin Reeves first and then follow it up and finish it up with what it all means to you.
Austin Reeves, he was always saying how surreal it is for him to have come from a small town in Arkansas and making his debut in the FIBA World Cup. He said that if there's one advice he can give to Filipino kids all over the world who are also aspiring to make it in basketball, it would be to never let anyone tell you that you're not capable of reaching your dreams.
Which is kind of related to your story.
Yeah. It's crazy because I got to interview Austin Reeves, some NBA players as well. And it's crazy because just a few years ago, I used to watch the NBA with my dad on the couch, and getting to do that a few years later as courtside reporter. He may not be here anymore, but that's a full circle moment for me. And I definitely brought my dad to my
games.
first coverage. Yes, because I know he wouldn't want to miss it.
And that was the picture right there of Doreen Baguio. Was this on Mall of Asia or was this Araneta?
Mall of Asia.
This was a Mall of Asia arena
Yeah.
and a picture of your dad. And yeah, I'm sure he's immensely proud of you, just as I am and just as we all are. Congratulations to you, Doreen.
Thank you, Boom. And thank you guys for joining us. I'm Doreen Baguio.
Catch us weeknights here on One News and on the Pilipinas Live app, where you can watch us live and our past episodes on demand for just 99 pesos a month. Available for download on Google Play and App Store. I'm Boom Gonzalez, and this has been The Game.